what names. I've got a whole list of names historically. I'm not going to put them out here now, but I've got a whole historic list of names of people who are connected, and they were connected through owning land out there, and then they started putting people in power. Okay, so they have all this land because it was, it's a community that, when I first moved to Tennessee in 1978, and we built our restaurant in Nashville, in the old Colmere Club, the New Orleans Manor. My mother came to Nashville and put this restaurant in, and we were just like strangers in the night, man. We just like, we're just gonna put a restaurant in here. We'd been to Louisville, we'd had a successful restaurant there. And so, my poor mom, who had just gotten divorced, and I was with her and I was helping her, and we like go to SunTrust Bank. This is 1977, y'all. And we go to SunTrust Bank, and she's got her little fur coat on and her little diamond earrings, and I got, and now remember, like, this is Music City. They have people here, right? Like, they have like women here who make a lot of money in music, but my mama goes in there, she's got a little fur coat on, and all she wants is like $60,000 line of credit. I know, like, that's nothing today to start a business, and it really was not that much way back then, but she's just like, I just need like $60,000 line of credit. And they're like poo-pooing her, these big men, and these big bulked up, and I mean bulked up, I mean chunky, okay, these chunky men in these suits and white shirts and ties, blue ties. They all had blue ties on, I remember that. And they're like snooty, and we walked out of there. I walked out of there with my mom. I don't even remember the last word they said. I turned to her and I said, this is nothing but a big old hick town here, because we'd been in Louisville. It was so much more sophisticated. So she got her line of credit, though. We got the restaurant open. She had a very, very, very successful business for 30 years there, okay? 1978 was when she started. So anyway, but way back then, Williamson County was just nothing. They built a mall out there, and everybody was like, why are you building a huge mall out here where there's nothing out here, right? The Galleria by the early 80s, and then it just started booming. And even in the last 8 years, in 2014, it was about 140,000, 150,000. When the election came up for 2022, it was like 240,000. So like in 8 years, it grew by like 100,000 people. The development is just crazy land, okay? Just crazy. And there's beautiful countryside, and the town's all snooty. They think they're, the Stepford Society, like everybody has to be perfect and stuff. And when I say I'm just like slumming it in Williamson County, because I just have a little, 4-bedroom house, and a little ranch house that's 50 years old. But, but it's a nice community. There's lots of nice people there, but it's got a lot of like strange things going on. And I moved from Davidson County down to Williamson County. And, and I had already practiced law several years in Davidson County and been a DA, and everything was fine. And I moved to Williamson County, and you'd think I was the most horrible person in the world, just because I was like, what is going on with these guys? Judges calling the female attorneys girls, and there weren't more than a half a dozen female attorneys down there at the time. And I turned to one of them and I was like, what is wrong with this guy? So it's just crazy. And that was in 2002. And then more and more crazy things started to happen. So anyway, I have like, so now I'm like, why is Judge Woodruff, why was Judge Woodruff so hateful to me? Like, he was hateful to me from the very beginning back in 2014. And then he was hateful to me and Wendy Hancock when he like rewrote the law. And then he was hateful to me when I ran for judge. He was hateful to me when I did a public records request. He's just darn hateful, and did this own little secret investigation regarding CASA. Well, partly because CASA, the CASA executive director, Marianne Shore, was his next door neighbor at the time. Like, CASA was in the courtroom, right? And they were like attacking me. So I didn't know at the time. He didn't disclose it. He was making political campaign contributions to their nonprofit. I'm like, okay, there's no conflict of interest there, right? But I didn't know that at the time, because I kind of expected people to be half normal, I truly had high expectations of the court system when I first got involved. I was a grown-up. I was already 40 years old before I became an attorney. We'd been in business for 20 years already. I really expected some normalcy and expected people to behave like adults, right? But whew, man, it was just like crazy land. So I'm like, why? And of course, y'all know the final blow is the felony, right? Where they're like, zapped my law license, suspended it with a fax from the Supreme Court on a fake felony. So I'm like, okay, Judge Woodruff, okay, Joseph Addison Woodruff. I'm gonna look in. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna figure out why you're so hateful. So Sharon Edsel, Tyler Guffey, and Joseph Woodruff. So we're digging into that. Juvenile court created in the end of 2012, and Guffey appointed, and Brenda Hayden appointed, and I don't know, is her husband a developer, and Donnie Cameron a developer, and John Guffey a developer, and who else, and Judge Woodruff worked for Waller, and Beeman was down there, and Beeman was developing some stuff, Beeman out of Davidson County, and yeah. So it's like, okay, this is weird, right? This is too weird. And then, of course, all the big crash comes in 2007, 2008, and I just watched it just cave in down there. I mean, it was crazy land down there, because all these people have bought these $500,000 houses thinking on balloon notes, thinking that the value would go up 20% in a year and they could just make a quick buck, and then it didn't, and then it crashed, and then they lost everything. Then what happened? You had all this property